This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 42 in this mini course that's all about flat picking. In this lesson, we're building on what we did in the last lesson by looking at the G major pentatonic scale with a little bit of an extension that takes us up higher than what we were doing in the last lesson, and with some alternate fingerings, which opens up some other types of licks that we can play. And then we'll do some licks because we're working on improvising with this scale to play melodic fills in this flat picking style. And we're building up ideas that will help us when we want to play a solo through a whole chord progression. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now down in the description below, there'll be a link. You can click on that and download a free copy of the sheet music in PDF format, Flat Picking Fun number 9. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in here. Now in the last lesson, we played this G major pentatonic scale. I'm not going to re-explain it, but we're going to take a look at it with alternate fingerings and how we can go a little bit higher. We're going to go up to this B at the 7th fret. We don't go up to the B very often. We go up to the A at the 5th fret quite often, but sometimes we do catch that B, so I'm going to go ahead and include it. So as you can see written there, with the G major pentatonic scale with this extension, that we start off the same, so we still have 3, and then the open, and then the 2nd fret, and then we've got the open, then we got the 2nd fret, and then we can grab with the 5th fret is the G with our pinky, and sometimes we will. We're actually not going to with any of the licks that I have here, and we don't do it very often, but there are songs where we will, where you might end up grabbing that one instead of the open string, and the reason for doing that is because you can slide into it. If you want to slide into the G, then you got to play it at that 5th fret on that 4th string, but if you're not going to slide into it, most of the time it's easier to finger it as an open string. We love open strings in the flat picking style, but it's in there as an alternate so that you can know that it's an alternate. So as you continue though, we've got the 2nd fret on that 3rd string, and then we got the 4th fret on that 3rd string. That gives us an alternative to the open 2nd string, and this allows us to slide into that 3rd, and we're going to have in our licks some sliding, or to use hammer-ons and pull-offs between the A and the B. So we want to go ahead and learn to finger it that way. Then we're going to stick our index finger 3rd fret on the 2nd string and 5th fret on that 2nd string, and that 5th fret allows us to have an alternate to the open E string, which allows us to again slide into it or do hammer-ons and pull-offs, and sometimes we want to do that. And then we have the G where it normally is on that 3rd fret on that top string, but we're going to use our index finger. And then we've got the A at the 5th fret and the B at the 7th fret. Now you can shift between them and you can reach between them, so you kind of have to decide in the moment, depending on the lick, whether you're reaching or shifting, but we end up using both. Okay, and then we can come back down and play the scale. So let's go ahead and play it here, just the whole scale. So you got ready and... just like that. Now that's the scale, and you want to run that scale and get really comfortable with it. I didn't mention this in the last lesson because I was describing it, but you can also do little exercises through that scale with the other fingering, the fingering shown in lesson 41, and the fingerings in the scale with the extension that we're doing here. So for example, a scale exercise might be, so I go up and come back, or I could go further, or I could do, or I could go in fours. You just find different ways to work through just find different ways to work through that fluid eighth note texture with different exercises, different patterns inside of it. Create little patterns. You can just make them up, going, say, 3 notes, coming back, going up another 3 notes, coming back, things like that. And create those patterns, and that can help you as you're working on creating licks. Okay, so we're going to look at the licks that I have here for us, though, as examples. And I mentioned this in the last lesson, as we prepare to improvise or compose ideas on the spot. Learning ones that somebody else has composed is sort of gets it in our ear and in our fingers, which helps our brain come up with ideas that we want to improvise or compose on the spot. It's kind of like learning to talk. We learn different words by listening to others, and then we learn sort of how to start phrasing, putting those together and then into sentences and so on, and pretty soon we can just talk to friends without having had to plan out what we were going to say beforehand, and we can have a conversation. Improvisation in music works kind of the same way. We learn these notes that work in a certain context and how we can put those notes together to create melodic ideas, and then we can start creating melodic ideas on the spot, and even interacting with other aspects of the music, things that are happening in the rhythm and the melodies, or in the bass line, or if somebody else is playing, and we can go back and forth. So it kind of works that way. So we're going to go ahead and learn some that I have written here that kind of work within the style, just using this major pentatonic scale, using these fingerings. So with this first one there, right on the second line, we're going to start with this little slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, hence the need for this alternate fingering. So it slides in for a quarter note, then we got to pull off. So I'll play it without talking. We just have the G chord. Now as a reminder, we're going to do down plucks on the notes that are on the beat and up plucks on the notes in between the beats. So learn that slow as much as you need to, and if we play that whole line just repeated over and over, we'd have. Look at the next one. So the next one is kind of fast because we got to slide into it. So you might want to take your ring finger to slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret. So you can pick which finger you want to do that last slide into. But if we break this down just a little bit, so the first 2 beats, if you use your ring fingering, the next 2 beats we have this pull off, and then in the next measure we have, or you can use your index finger, your middle finger, even your ring finger in that second measure to do the slide, but whichever one you want to use, you kind of want to plan to play the pull off that happens right before it with that. The whole thing sounds like. We do it one more time. We got 1, 2, ready, and. I fingered it with my middle finger, which is a little bit harder on that initial slide. When you find one that works, you want to use the same one over and over, because that way it sort of helps the neurologic pathways. The brain knows how to play it, and it can tell your fingers to play it faster when we do it the same way more and more and more and more. The more times we do it, the more it locks that in. Okay, so if we did that line, repeat it over and over, and you can practice that lick as much as you need to, we'd have. repeat that as many times as you need to. Okay, let's look at the last line on that page then. Now with this one, we start off with a hammer-on. This first measure isn't too bad. Hammer-on from the 3rd fret to the 5th. So no big deal. But then the next measure, we got to get up to that 7th fret. And we have a couple different ways that we can finger this. We can reach and grab it with our pinky or our ring finger, and then pull off. I kind of think it's the easiest to do sort of a reach with the pinky or ring finger. If you grab with the ring finger, it's a little bit harder to do the pull off because you can grab pinky. Or you can do middle and index, but that's quite a reach between middle and index. So pinky. But you can also slide and do you can also shift up and do a little bit of a slide, which is fun. So instead of doing a pull off, you could do a slide. If you shift up, grab the 7th fret with your ring finger, index slides from the 5th to the 3rd. It's just not as pronounced. So you could do it either way. So the whole thing sounds like. Or with the slide. You can just decide which one works best or try them both out. Learn them both. So if we did the whole thing, just those 4 bars, we'd have. Like that. Okay, over to the next page. Now on the next page we've got the same kind of thing. We've got these decisions on whether we're reaching. If you have enough space between your index and middle finger, enough flexibility, you can use your pinky. That's what it sounds like. Or you can shift. So I'll walk you through it. Some sort of reach, grabbing it with, say, your pinky, and then ring finger or middle finger on that 5th fret and then down. So. Or if we shift, we'd have with our index finger. Which might be the easiest, or they're both kind of equally easy. If we play that whole line a couple times, it'll sound like 1, 2, ready, and. If we go on to the next line, we've got a slide. So not too bad. You can decide what finger you want to do that slide with. Middle works really great because it sets you right up to continue. So. Sounds, work that as much as you need to, and then you can work on the whole line. So you'd have 1, 2, ready, and. So there's that one. Now, the last one, or the 3rd one on that page, last place there's a lick, we slide from the 3rd fret up to the 5th fret, and then you got to roll with that ring finger and do a pull off. And it's as simple as that. And then you probably want to do a roll with the index finger to catch that 3rd fret. And then you can do ring finger and index to do the pull off, and then roll again with your index. So when I'm rolling, If I have my finger on a string that's lower then I can roll up to that next string. If I'm on a higher string, I already have to sort of plan with my finger a little flattened out to roll back. So that whole thing would sound like... It's kind of a finger twister, sort of puts our fingers in knots. You can get used to it. The faster you go, the more it just sort of flows out. But it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's good for us. It's kind of a fun idea to play. So I'll play it one more time. If we put that whole line in context... Okay, now when we're doing melodic fills, we would play a lot of different ones. So I'm going to play all of these in order. You can play along if you can with the chord in between. Sometimes it's also nice to have a friend who's playing the chords and you can just play these over top the chords or just go back and forth so you don't have to jump back and forth. But when you're playing on your own, sometimes it's nice to play some rhythm, insert that melodic fill, and then go back to the rhythm. So that's what we're going to do here. Of course, this is all for a G chord, which makes it easier. So we are off to the races with it. So I'm going to go 1, 2, ready, and... Now the last line is there, where you see the slashes, is for you to improvise and create your own. So you'll notice that there's sort of on beat 3 there's G. I explained this in the last lesson. It really helps to target the root note on beat 3, or if you want to push it to beat 4 and not play the chord, that's okay too, and then you can strum. Sometimes it's easier to target beat 3, so that's why I put it there. So for example, if you were to count through it, you have 8 eighth notes worth in that first measure, though we can use quarter notes and change things up a little bit. And then you got 4 more eighth notes before you'd hit that G. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. You can just kind of target them. You're improvising, it might be sticky, it might make some mistakes, but that's okay. You just get to make some up. That's the whole fun. You start working on it. Learn ones that somebody else has done, ones like these ones, and then start making up your own. Super, super fun. You can also just improvise with these ideas over top of the chords being played. So you could record yourself playing the chords and play over the top. Or I'll just play a few bars of the chords right here so you could practice improvising right along with me. So we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and... So there's some chords, and you can just play over that as much as you need to. Have a fun little duet. I am sure you're playing great ideas. So super fun. In the next lesson, so as we move on into the next lesson, we're going to add a chromatic pitch. Gives us a little bit of blues flavor. It's going to be super fun. I'll see you in that next one. Take care. Keep having fun with the guitar. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.